They laughed when Sarah joined the elite SEAL sniper team. "Women can't handle the pressure," they whispered. "She'll freeze when it matters." But when bullets started flying and lives hung in the balance, their laughter died. The deadliest shot in the unit wasn't who they expected. Before watching full story, comment below from where are you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The scorching Afghan sun beat down mercilessly on forward operating base Shank as Lieutenant Sarah Chen adjusted the scope on her Barrett M82 sniper rifle for what felt like the 100th time that morning. Around her, the 7 other members of SEAL Team 7 prepared their gear with the methodical precision that came from years of combat experience. But Chen could feel their eyes on her, could hear the whispered conversations that stopped abruptly whenever she approached. "I still think Kowalski should take the primary position," Petty Officer Martinez muttered to Jackson, not quite quietly enough. "This isn't some training exercise. We're talking about Hassan al-Mahmoud. The guy's killed 17 of our people in 6 months. Jackson nodded, checking his M4 carbine. "When it comes down to pulling that trigger on a human being, not everyone has what it takes. Especially when lives depend on it." Chen had heard variations of this conversation countless times since joining the team 8 months ago. Despite consistently outperforming her teammates at the shooting range and excelling in every aspect of SEAL training, the doubt never seemed to fade. They questioned whether women belonged in special operations, whether she could handle the mental pressure of taking a life, whether she possessed the killer instinct required for missions behind enemy lines. Chief Petty Officer Rodriguez emerged from the command tent, his weathered face grim as he called the team together. "Listen up. Operation Silent Thunder is confirmed. Intelligence has al-Mahmoud holed up in a compound 30 kilometers south of here. He's planning a major offensive against FOB Chapman, and we're not going to let that happen." The satellite imagery showed a fortified compound surrounded by high walls, with multiple guard positions and limited approach routes. Al-Mahmoud had chosen his hiding spot well. Nestled in the mountains with excellent visibility in all directions and numerous escape routes through the rocky terrain. "This requires surgical precision," Rodriguez continued. "One shot, one kill. Chin, you're our primary sniper. Martinez and Torres, you'll provide overwatch from the eastern ridge. Jackson, Kowalski, and I will secure the perimeter and handle any runners." The announcement was met with uncomfortable silence. Chen watched her teammates exchange glances, their skepticism palpable. She had earned this position through superior marksmanship scores, flawless performance in combat simulations, and psychological evaluations that rated her among the top percentile for stress management under pressure. Yet the doubt persisted. "Chief," Torres spoke up, his voice carefully neutral, "maybe we should consider backup options. If the primary shooter hesitates or encounters difficulties, we need contingencies." Chen felt her jaw tighten but kept her voice level. "What kind of difficulties are you anticipating, Torres?" "Look, Chen, nobody's questioning your shooting ability," Kowalski interjected. "But taking a life through a scope, watching someone drop through magnified optics, that's different from anything you've done before. The psychological impact can be significant. Especially for women," Martinez added. "Studies show different stress responses, higher emotional processing. It's not personal, it's just biology." Chen had heard these arguments before, the same tired stereotypes wrapped in pseudoscientific language. She stood slowly, her gear rattling softly as she faced her teammates. "Every person in this unit went through the same training," she said quietly. "Same psychological evaluations, same stress tests, same kill or be killed scenarios. I didn't get here because standards were lowered or because of some diversity initiative. I got here because I earned it." Jackson leaned back against a supply crate, his skepticism evident. Training scenarios are controlled environments. When you're looking at a real person through that scope, knowing that pulling the trigger makes you responsible for ending someone's life, that's when you find out what you're really made of. "Some people freeze up," Martinez nodded. "Others overthink it, start seeing the target as human instead of enemy. It happens to the best of us." Chin picked up her rifle, checking the action with practiced efficiency. "The only difference between a training target and an enemy combatant is that the enemy shoots back. And since I'll be positioned over 1,000 meters away, that won't be an issue." Rodriguez studied his team's dynamics, recognizing the need to address the underlying tension. Chin has the best long-range accuracy scores in the squadron. Her psychological profile shows exceptional stress tolerance and decision-making capability under pressure. She's earned this position through performance, not politics. Despite the chief's support, Chin could see the doubt lingering in her teammates' eyes. They had worked together for months, but she remained an outsider in their brotherhood, constantly having to prove herself in ways her male counterparts never did. That evening, as the team conducted final equipment checks and reviewed the mission timeline, Chin found herself alone at the base's shooting range. The targets were set at varying distances, 500, 800, 1,000 and 1,200 meters. She settled behind her rifle, adjusting her position until everything felt perfect. The first shot rang out across the desert, followed by the distinctive ping of a perfect hit. Then another. And another. Each bullet found its mark with mechanical precision, regardless of distance or wind conditions. Chin had always found peace in the mathematical certainty of long-range shooting. The calculations for windage, elevation, and bullet drop created a world where skill and preparation mattered more than prejudice and assumptions. Master Chief Williams, the base's senior sniper instructor, watched from the observation booth. He had trained hundreds of marksmen over his 20-year career and recognized exceptional talent when he saw it. Chen's natural ability, combined with her obsessive attention to detail and relentless practice schedule, placed her among the elite shooters he had encountered. "Outstanding grouping," Williams called out as he approached her position. "Most snipers would be satisfied with that performance at 800 meters. You're doing it consistently at 1,200. Chin adjusted her scope for the next series of shots. "Consistent isn't good enough when American lives depend on the outcome." Williams nodded approvingly. "That's the right mindset. But I have to ask, are you prepared for what tomorrow brings? Taking a human life, even an enemy combatant, changes you. Some people handle it better than others." Chin paused, considering the question seriously. "I've thought about it extensively, Master Chief. I've run through every possible scenario, every potential complication. Al-Mahmoud is responsible for the deaths of 17 American soldiers and the planning of terrorist attacks that would kill many more. When I look through that scope tomorrow, I won't see a person. I'll see a threat that needs to be eliminated to protect innocent lives." The next morning arrived with the pre-dawn darkness that preceded most special operations missions. The team moved out in 2 vehicles, their headlights cutting through the Afghan landscape as they navigated toward the target area. Chin rode in silence, mentally rehearsing the mission parameters while her teammates continued their quiet speculation about her ability to perform when it mattered. The compound sat in a valley between 2 rocky ridges, exactly as the satellite imagery had shown. Al-Mahmoud had chosen his location well: excellent visibility for his security forces, multiple escape routes and natural barriers that made direct assault extremely costly. But those same features that made the compound defensible also made it perfect for long-range engagement. Chin established her shooting position on the western ridge, approximately 1,100 meters from the target building. She set up her Barrett M82 with deliberate precision, adjusting the bipod legs until the rifle was perfectly stable, checking wind conditions with a handheld meter, and calculating the exact holdover needed for the distance and environmental factors. Through her scope, she could see the compound's security arrangements clearly. 6 guards patrolled the perimeter walls, rotating in predictable patterns that suggested good training but not exceptional tactical awareness. 2 additional sentries manned positions on the main building's roof, while others remained stationed at various choke points throughout the compound. Rodriguez's voice crackled through her earpiece. "Overwatch 1 report status." "Position established," Chin replied quietly. "I have clear lines of sight to all primary targets. Guards are following predictable patrol patterns. I can confirm at least 8 hostiles visible, likely more inside the buildings." "Copy that. Martinez Torres, what's your status?" From the eastern ridge, Martinez responded, "Overwatch 2 in position. We have good coverage of the compound's rear section and potential escape routes." Chin continued her surveillance, noting every detail that might affect the mission. The compound's layout matched intelligence reports, but she observed additional defensive positions that hadn't appeared in the satellite imagery. Al-Mahmoud's security team was more sophisticated than expected, with overlapping fields of fire and backup positions prepared for different contingencies. "Primary target identified," Chin reported as a figure emerged from the main building. Through her scope's powerful magnification, she could clearly see Hassan al-Mahmoud, tall, bearded, wearing traditional Afghan clothing but moving with the confident bearing of a military commander. "Target is mobile, currently speaking with security personnel near the main entrance." Rodriguez's voice was tense. "Do you have a clear shot?" Chin tracked al-Mahmoud through her scope as he moved around the compound, occasionally disappearing behind cover before emerging again. "Negative. Too many civilians in the area, and his security team is maintaining good spacing." I need him isolated from non-combatants. This was the moment her teammates had been questioning, the split-second decision-making under pressure that they believed might overwhelm her. Through her earpiece, she could hear their breathing, feel their tension as they waited to see if she would perform or falter. Al-Mahmoud paused near the compound's central courtyard, speaking animatedly with his lieutenants. Chen adjusted her scope minutely, compensating for a slight wind shift that her instruments detected. The distance was 1,087 meters according to her rangefinder, well within her capability, but requiring absolute precision. Target is stationary, she reported calmly. Clear line of sight, no civilians in the immediate area. I have the shot. Take it, Rodriguez ordered. Chen controlled her breathing, allowing her heart rate to slow as she had trained countless times. Her world narrowed to the view through her scope, Al-Mahmoud's figure centered in the crosshairs, the subtle movements of wind-blown dust indicating air currents, the steady rise and fall of her own chest as she found the perfect moment between breaths. The Barrett M82's massive .50 caliber round left the barrel with devastating authority. The sound of the shot echoed across the valley, but Chen was already tracking the bullet's flight path through her scope. Time seemed suspended as the projectile covered the distance to its target in less than 2 seconds. Al-Mahmoud dropped instantly, his security team immediately scrambling for cover as they tried to determine the source of the shot. Through her scope, Chen could see their panic and confusion. They had been trained for direct assault and close-quarters combat, not long-range precision fire from an invisible enemy. Target down, Chen reported with professional detachment. One shot confirmed kill. But the mission was far from over. Al-Mahmoud's death had triggered immediate chaos within the compound, with security forces taking defensive positions and searching desperately for the sniper's location. Chen remained motionless behind her rifle, knowing that movement would give away her position to enemy observers. Multiple hostiles converging on the main building, Torres reported from his overwatch position. Looks like they're trying to establish a defensive perimeter. Chen studied the compound through her scope, identifying individual threats and prioritizing targets based on their potential to organize effective resistance. 3 security personnel had taken positions on nearby rooftops, using binoculars to scan the surrounding ridges for signs of the attacking force. I can eliminate the rooftop observers, Chen offered. That will blind them and increase our tactical advantage. Negative, Rodriguez replied. Mission parameters called for eliminating Al-Mahmoud specifically. Additional engagement increases risk of exposure and complicates extraction. But as the team watched, enemy reinforcements began arriving at the compound. Vehicles appeared on the access road, carrying additional fighters who quickly moved to strengthen the defensive positions. What should have been a clean elimination mission was evolving into a more complex tactical situation. Chief, we've got problems, Jackson reported from his perimeter position. Enemy QRF inbound, at least 2 technical vehicles with heavy weapons. They're going to establish a cordon and search the area systematically. Chen realized that their careful mission planning had accounted for Al-Mahmoud's security team but not for rapid reinforcement by nearby Allied forces. The enemy's quick response times suggested better coordination and communication than intelligence had predicted. New contacts approaching from the north, Martinez announced. Additional technical vehicle, possibly RPG teams. Through her scope, Chen watched the enemy forces deploying with tactical proficiency that impressed even her. They were establishing interlocking fields of fire, positioning heavy weapons to cover potential escape routes, and organizing search teams to locate the hidden snipers. Overwatch 1, we need to move to Extraction Point Alpha, Rodriguez ordered. This area is about to become very unfriendly. But Chen had identified a critical problem with their extraction plan. The enemy's rapid deployment had effectively cut off 2 of their 3 planned escape routes, and the remaining path would require crossing open ground under direct observation from multiple enemy positions. Chief, I recommend we thin their numbers before attempting extraction, Chen said calmly. I can eliminate the heavy weapons crews from this position, which will open our escape corridor and prevent pursuit. Negative. Mission is complete, we extract now. Chen watched through her scope as enemy forces continued strengthening their positions. Within minutes, they would have overwhelming firepower concentrated on the ridges where the SEAL team was positioned. Attempting to withdraw under those conditions would likely result in casualties or capture. Chief, with respect, the tactical situation has changed. If we attempt extraction now without degrading their capabilities, we'll be moving into a prepared kill zone. Rodriguez paused, recognizing the accuracy of Chen's assessment. The enemy's rapid response had created exactly the kind of tactical nightmare that required immediate adaptation of original mission parameters. What do you recommend, Overwatch 1? Chen had already identified her priority targets. The crew served weapons that posed the greatest threat to her team's withdrawal. The technical vehicles mounted heavy machine guns and what appeared to be a recoilless rifle, weapons capable of devastating effectiveness against personnel in open terrain. I can eliminate the heavy weapons crews in sequence, starting with the recoilless rifle team. That will force them to reposition and create gaps in their coverage. Martinez and Torres can provide supporting fire to keep their heads down while we bound back to the extraction point. It was a risky plan that required precise coordination and exceptional marksmanship under increasingly difficult conditions. Enemy forces were actively searching for the sniper positions, using binoculars and even climbing to elevated positions for better observation angles. Execute, Rodriguez ordered after a brief pause. Chen identified her first target, the recoilless rifle crew positioned on the compound's eastern wall. The weapon could destroy light vehicles and was perfectly positioned to interdict their planned escape route. Through her scope, she could see the crew preparing to fire at suspected sniper positions on the western ridge. Her second shot was as precise as the first. The .50 caliber round eliminated the gunner instantly, sending his crew diving for cover and rendering the heavy weapon temporarily inoperative. Before the enemy could react, Chen had already shifted to her next target. The technical vehicle's machine gunner never saw the shot coming. Chen's third round disabled both the weapon and its operator, creating immediate chaos among the enemy forces who still couldn't locate the source of the devastating accurate fire. Outstanding shooting, Torres called out over the radio. Enemy forces are repositioning, looks like they're pulling back from exposed positions. But Chen wasn't finished. She had identified a critical target, an enemy commander who was attempting to coordinate the search efforts and organize effective countermeasures. Through her scope, she could see him using a radio and directing his forces to specific positions. Her fourth shot eliminated the enemy commander, creating immediate confusion and communication breakdown among the remaining forces. Without central coordination, individual units began making independent decisions, creating gaps in their coverage and reducing their overall effectiveness. Multiple enemy Kia confirmed, Chen reported. Remaining forces are breaking contact and withdrawing to defensive positions inside the compound. Our escape corridor is clear. The team moved efficiently toward the extraction point, bounding by pairs while Chen provided overwatch from her elevated position. Her exceptional marksmanship had neutralized the most dangerous threats and created the tactical space necessary for safe withdrawal. As they reached the extraction point, Rodriguez's voice came through Chen's earpiece with a tone she had never heard before. Overwatch 1, that was some of the finest shooting I've witnessed in 20 years of special operations. Outstanding performance under pressure. But Chen's most challenging moment was yet to come. As the team prepared for helicopter extraction, enemy forces made one final attempt to prevent their escape. A group of fighters had moved to high ground overlooking the extraction zone, positioning themselves to engage the rescue helicopter with RPG fire. Enemy RPG team, Grid 41 SMD 23847562234, Martinez reported urgently. They have clear lines of sight to our extraction zone. The helicopter was already inbound, its crew unaware of the immediate threat. Chen had seconds to identify and eliminate the RPG gunner before he could engage the aircraft with devastating results. Through her scope, she could see the enemy fighter shouldering the RPG launcher, preparing to fire at the approaching helicopter. The shot required absolute precision. The target was partially concealed behind rocks, with only his head and shoulders visible. Chen's final shot of the mission was her most difficult and most critical. The .50 caliber round found its target with surgical precision, eliminating the RPG gunner and saving both the helicopter crew and her own team from catastrophic damage. Threat eliminated, Chen reported as the helicopter touched down. Area is secure for extraction. As the SEAL team boarded the aircraft, Chen could see the changed expressions on her teammates' faces. The doubt and skepticism that had characterized their attitude toward her capabilities had been replaced by something she had rarely seen directed at her: genuine professional respect. Jackson was the first to speak as the helicopter lifted off. Chen, I owe you an apology. That shooting exhibition back there. I've never seen anything like it. 5 targets, 5 kills, under combat conditions with lives on the line. Martinez nodded, his earlier skepticism completely absent. The way you handled that tactical situation, adapting to changing conditions and making split-second decisions. That was textbook special operations. Kowalski, who had questioned her psychological readiness for combat, spoke quietly. I was wrong about the emotional response thing. You stayed calm and focused while the rest of us were getting rattled by the enemy's quick reaction. That kind of mental toughness can't be taught. Torres, who had cited biological differences in stress response, shook his head in amazement. 500 meters, 800 meters, over 1,000 meters, you were hitting targets I couldn't even see clearly through binoculars. And under combat pressure, with enemy forces actively hunting for your position. But it was Rodriguez who provided the ultimate validation of Chen's performance. In my 20 years of special operations, I've worked with some exceptional snipers. What you accomplished today, the precision, the tactical awareness, the ability to adapt and overcome when the mission parameters changed, that represents the absolute pinnacle of what we do. Chen accepted their acknowledgement with the same quiet professionalism she had maintained throughout the mission. She had never sought their approval or validation, only the opportunity to prove that her capabilities were determined by skill and training rather than gender. The helicopter flew back toward base through the Afghan night, carrying a SEAL team that had been fundamentally changed by witnessing exceptional performance under the most demanding conditions. Chen cleaned her rifle methodically, preparing for the detailed debriefing that would follow every aspect of the mission. But the most significant change was evident in the conversation that developed among her teammates during the flight. Instead of questioning her abilities or discussing biological limitations, they were analyzing her shooting techniques and tactical decisions with the respect accorded to a master practitioner. That fourth shot when you took out their commander, Jackson said thoughtfully. How did you even identify him as the primary coordinator? Through the scope, they all looked like regular fighters to me. Chen looked up from cleaning her rifle. Body language, positioning, radio usage. He was giving directions rather than receiving them, staying in covered positions while exposing his subordinates to observation. Command personnel have different movement patterns than regular fighters. Martinez leaned forward, genuinely interested in learning from her expertise. And the timing on that final RPG shot, you had maybe 3 seconds before he fired at the helicopter. How do you make that kind of precision shot under that time pressure? Preparation and practice, Chen replied simply. Every scenario we might encounter, every possible complication, every type of shot under every condition. When the moment comes, your training takes over and you execute what you've rehearsed thousands of times. Kowalski nodded slowly. That's what separates elite performers from regular soldiers. The ability to execute complex tasks flawlessly when everything is going wrong around you. As they approached the base, Rodriguez addressed the broader implications of the mission's success. What happened today is going to be studied in special operations training courses. 5 precision eliminations, tactical adaptation under pressure, mission accomplishment despite significantly changed parameters. That's how it's supposed to be done. The helicopter touched down at Forward Operating Base Shank, and the SEAL team disembarked into the pre-dawn darkness. Chen secured her weapon and equipment with the same methodical attention to detail that had characterized her performance throughout the mission. But as they walked toward the debriefing facility, she could hear her teammates discussing the mission in terms that had never before been applied to her performance. Words like exceptional, elite, and masterful replaced the previous skepticism and doubt. During the formal debriefing, Chen provided detailed accounts of each engagement, explaining her target selection criteria, environmental calculations and tactical assessments. Her analysis demonstrated not only exceptional marksmanship skills but also the strategic thinking and battlefield awareness that characterized the most elite special operations personnel. The mission commander, Colonel Harrison, reviewed the after-action reports with obvious satisfaction. Outstanding mission execution, team. The elimination of Hassan al-Mahmoud represents a significant tactical victory and will save American lives. Lieutenant Chin, your performance under combat conditions exceeded all expectations. Over the following days, word of Chen's exceptional performance spread throughout the special operations community. The combination of precision marksmanship, tactical adaptability, and calm decision-making under extreme pressure had created a new standard for sniper performance in combat conditions. Her teammates, who had once questioned whether women belonged in special operations, now sought her expertise and advice on long-range shooting techniques and tactical procedures. The transformation was complete, from skepticism to respect, from doubt to professional acknowledgement. But perhaps the most significant change was evident in how Chen was integrated into the team's brotherhood. The informal conversations, the shared experiences, the mutual respect that characterizes elite military units. She had earned her place through performance that could not be questioned or dismissed. Jackson approached her during evening chow, his expression serious but respectful. "Chin, I want to say something publicly in front of the whole team. I was wrong about women in special operations. I was wrong about your capabilities. And I was wrong to let prejudice cloud my professional judgment." Martinez nodded in agreement. "We all were. We let assumptions and stereotypes override what should have been obvious, that you earned your position through superior performance and deserve the same respect we give any elite operator." Torres added, "That mission proved something important, that the most dangerous sniper in our unit isn't defined by gender or physical characteristics. It's defined by skill, training, mental toughness, and the ability to perform when lives are on the line." Chen listened to their acknowledgments with quiet satisfaction, but her response reflected the professionalism that had characterized her throughout the process of earning their respect. "I never expected special treatment or consideration. I only wanted the opportunity to prove that my capabilities were determined by my training and performance, not by anyone's assumptions about my limitations." Kowalski, who had been the most analytical in his skepticism, provided perhaps the most meaningful assessment. "What you demonstrated out there goes beyond exceptional marksmanship. The tactical awareness, the ability to adapt when the mission parameters changed, the psychological control under extreme pressure. Those are the characteristics that separate elite operators from regular soldiers, regardless of gender." Rodriguez, as team leader, addressed the broader implications of Chen's performance and its impact on the unit's effectiveness. "This team is stronger now because we've learned to evaluate capabilities based on performance rather than assumptions. That lesson applies to every aspect of special operations, not just long-range marksmanship." The mission had created more than just tactical success. It had fundamentally changed the dynamics within SEAL Team 7 and established new standards for evaluating operator capabilities. Chen's exceptional performance had forced her teammates to confront their own prejudices and recognize excellence regardless of their previous assumptions. But the ultimate validation came during their next mission briefing, when Rodriguez announced assignments for a new high-value target elimination mission. Without hesitation or discussion, he designated Chen as primary sniper, and not a single team member questioned the decision. The transformation was complete. The woman they had once doubted and dismissed had become the operator they trusted most when precision and performance mattered more than anything else. In the unforgiving crucible of special operations, where skill and results determined respect, Chen had proven that excellence recognizes no boundaries except those imposed by training, dedication, and the courage to perform when everything is on the line. Her exceptional shooting that day had eliminated not only enemy targets, but also the prejudices and assumptions that had questioned her place among America's elite warriors. In the end, the most dangerous sniper in SEAL Team 7 was indeed the woman her teammates had initially underestimated, and they would never make that mistake again.